The Founders of Hogwarts, Part 1, Episode 6. Written and performed by Mandy K. Skelton. Inspired by the wizarding world of Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Fade in. Interior Salazar's office, night. Salazar sketches the stars through a hole in his ceiling. There's a quick knock at the door. Uncle Sal? Salazar turns excited at the sound of Helena's voice. She runs into his office and he hugs her. How's your father? Good. His grave was covered in daisies and lines of dandy. She conjures up a small daisy and dandelion between her fingers. He's sympathetic to her smiling frown. And how are you? She shrugs. Better than my mother. She looks like she swallowed a garden gnome. Go easy on her. She's had a terrible day. What, did she disprove her own correction on a theory by someone far more clever than herself? Salazar crosses his arms, objecting to her tone. Your father did not raise you to be cheeky. Your mother's intellect deserves more respect than that. That silences Helena. She drops her head. Yes, sir. Now, run along. I've got stars to gaze at. Her shoulders hang as she stalks away, but Salazar isn't fooled. Helena? In all seriousness, he extends his hand in a give-me fashion. She sighs and takes out her mother's long peacock quill that she was riding with in the tavern. Did she see you take it? Helena shakes her head no. Salazar twirls the quill gracefully between his long fingers and presents it back to her. You didn't get caught, so it's yours. She smiles at Salazar, who returns the grin. Now off with you. Cut 2. Montage. Rowena goes to 10 different schools trying to find a teaching position and is denied each time. Helena comes along and mostly behaves herself, while her mother steps into interviews, but she manages to steal something from each place they go. Nordahl also visits the same schools, collecting payment. Unfortunately, none of the schools have enough, and Nordahl takes the money in fury. Cut 2. Exterior, lake, near the village of Glen. Day. A close-up on Rowena. She stands looking defeated from all the rejection. Rowena watches her daughter run back and forth on the dock overlooking a gorgeous deep lake with a rocky shoreline and picturesque trees. Rowena grins down at her daughter, grateful. You ready to take the long way around? Helena jumps for joy. A gentleman brings a boat along the side of the pier. Rowena hands him some coins, and he helps them into the boat, strapping their bags to the end. Cut 2. Exterior, middle of the lake. Continuous. Rowena and Helena sit in a boat, the oars magically rowing. Helena looks around. Are we close? Almost. The boat turns into a bay and reveals a massive mountainside that meets right with the water's edge. It's a magnificent sight. Helena spots a couple in a similar boat that's by the side of the mountain. She points. Are they going to the school as well? Rowena touches the oars to keep them inconspicuous. No, darling. They're muggles. Watch. The muggle boat reaches the magical boundary and a wave rises from under the hull and carries the pair of muggles back to the other shore. What happens to us when we cross? Rowena smirks. You'll see. Wide shot. Their boat gets close to the mountainside and they slide through the magical boundary. Then water starts to crowd their feet. Helena is startled by it, but Rowena calms her down. It's all right. When we reach the bottom, take a seat. The bottom? From a wide shot, their boat instantly disappears under the surface. Cut 2. Interior lake, continuous. It's peaceful under the waves. The boat sinks faster than Rowena and Helena, who gracefully descend to the bottom like they're being gently pulled under. Their hair floats, their arms rise, and their dresses dance around them. Helena looks up to her mother and Rowena smiles, enjoying herself. Both girls look up to the surface as the sun rays grow smaller and smaller. Helena looks down into the deep darkness as the boat disappears, and it frightens her. Helena frantically tries to swim back to the surface, but Rowena swims to her daughter, taking her hand and calming her down. She mouths, I'm here, you're safe. Helena shakes her head no, and Rowena takes a few cleansing breaths and encourages Helena to do the same as they continue to drop. They drift into the deep void. In the darkness, Rowena lights her wand, and they see the boat waiting for them at the bottom of the lake. Rowena guides her daughter, and they both land gently, seated. Rowena taps the boat with her hand, and the boat starts to move. They enter an underwater cave, and Rowena dims her light. Helena's fears are gone as the walls glow with seaweed and multicolored coral, illuminating the tunnel. Ahead, they see figures at the end of the tunnel, and the girls travel through the last curtain of water. Cut 2. Exterior village of Glen, dock, continuous. With the boat full of water, the Ravenclaws edge right along the side of the pier. A gentleman helps Rowena out of the boat as she's dripping, sopping wet. "You care for a dry, miss?" "No, thank you, I manage." She waves her wand over her appearance, and she's back to normal. "Helena, come here so I can dry you off." But Helena walks off, soaking wet, too excited to listen to her mother. Helena steps towards the end of the dock, and her eyes light up at the sight of the thriving metropolis. Homes and businesses alike line the streets. The sun hangs high overhead, shining through a bright magical dome that moves like a lake in the sky. Helena turns around and sees the entrance they arrived through. It's a fitted dam morphing into a now translucent mountainside. Rowena catches up. "Please don't walk off." "Sorry." Helena points to the force field in the sky. "What does that do?" "It keeps dragons out so they don't burn the city down." Helena points to the dam. "What does that do?" "It keeps the lake from flooding the town, and it helps protect the town from muggles, or at least on this side." They walk off camera. Cut to exterior village of Glen Street, continuous. Rowena and Helena walk through the streets carrying their bags. "How come there's no fish?" "It's a salt and copper water lake, conducive to magic and shipbuilding, not conducive to animal life." "Can we visit further?" Rowena doesn't want to. "Maybe later." They stop in front of a beautiful manor house with a thatched roof and stone walls. "Is this the school?" Rowena looks up at the building, but her smile doesn't meet her eyes. Cut to interior Glen's Academy of the Mystical Arts, day. Rowena goes back to her old alma mater. She takes a seat, waiting. Helena sneaks her father's wand out of Rowena's bag when she isn't looking. Helena pipes up. "I'll be just over there." Rowena answers without looking up. "All right. Don't steal anything. And don't set anything on fire. And don't break anything either." Helena smiles innocently and scampers off. But Rowena clears her throat and extends her palm flat. "Helena, forgetting something?" Helena bites back her frustration that she wasn't sneaky enough to get away with her thievery and plants her father's wand in her mother's hand. "And the peacock quill?" Helena reaches up her sleeve, pulling out the lavish quill, returning it. Rowena grins, satisfied. "Thank you. You may go." Cut to hallway, school, continuous. Down the hallway, Helena pauses and looks up at the portraits on the wall of the same distinguished-looking witches and wizards her mother looked at years before. At the end of the corridor is a display case of newly polished trophies. Helena's eyes bulge with excitement. She's ready for a steal. Meanwhile, Rowena sits patiently in the hallway, waiting her turn. Water drips to the floor at a constant beat, catching her attention. She scrutinizes the leaky ceiling, drawing the repair on a small sheet of parchment. The door at the end flies open and students come dancing out, followed by their beautiful teacher, Helga Hufflepuff, wearing a beautiful deep gold and black dress. Helga spots the uptight Rowena. "Hello, lovely. You must be from around here. How can you tell?" "Your dress. The hem is a double stitch, very popular style for the witches of Glen." Rowena nods. "I'm Helga, by the way." She curtsies to Rowena. Rowena returns the salutation. "I'm Rowena. A pleasure to meet you, Rowena." "Pleasure to meet you as well. And where are you from?" "Valley Broad originally, but I'm sort of from all over." "Are you here for lessons?" "No. I'm a professor of charms and transfigurations." "Oh, wonderful. I do love a good switch and honest deception. I take it you're here for the job opening." "I am." "Excellent. Then I look forward to teaching with you." Music blares from a room down the hallway. "And that's my cue. Best of luck, although I don't think you'll need it. Until we meet again, enjoy your day." "Yes, thank you, you as well." Helga prances away to the beat of the music, causing Rowena to smile. The woman in gold disappears down the corridor. Cut 2. Helena makes a grab for the shiny trinket on a high shelf. It falls and is caught last second by a friendly hand. Helga smiles at Helena. "Careful there. Wouldn't want to break and unleash a dreadful curse on the entire school." "It's already cracked at the bottom. I think we're safe." "Perhaps, but best not to risk it." Helga puts back the prize a little higher on the shelf. "Would you like to join the class?" Helga points in the direction of the music, but Helena shakes her head no and shuffles off. Meanwhile, a strikingly beautiful witch with wild frizzy hair named Gwendolyn interrupts Rowena in the hallway. "Lady Rowena Ravenclaw?" "Rowena Ravenclaw and its professor." Gwendolyn looks her up and down, underwhelmed. Cut 2. Interior Grand Hall, school, continuous. They enter a grand empty ballroom. Rowena stands staring straight ahead, perfectly upright and still. The doors open at the end, and the handsome wizard, Samwith, whom we saw at her trial earlier, enters. Rowena is delighted to see him. Samwith? His slender, long arms and deep green eyes are genuinely happy to see her. Rowena, it's been ages. How are you? I'm fine. I'm so sorry for not attending the ball with you when we were in school. It's no matter. It all worked out. I found another date when we're later married. But you are still as lovely as ever. Thank you. You've not aged a day. I'm sorry about Reclerus. He was a brilliant man. We all miss him terribly. Rowena swallows hard, fussing with her skirt. That's very kind of you, thank you. Samwith flips open the parchment in his hand, and they take a walk about the ballroom. Per usual, your resume is the most impressive I've ever seen, Professor, and I would hire you in a heartbeat so I could attend your lectures, but I'm afraid we don't have any positions open. Another door flies open at the end of the ballroom. A raggedy-looking wizard gets his stuff thrown at him by Gwendolyn. That's your 5th strike. Get out, you lazy hobbleworm of a wizard. Mix up your counter curses on your own damn time. The wizard huffs away and Gwendolyn dusts herself off. She turns to Rowena and Samwith, acknowledges the pair sourly, and goes back to her normal routine. Rowena eyes Samuel with tender suspicion. You're sure you don't have any positions open? He sighs. I'm sorry, Rowena, but the ink won't stick. Literally. He motions to the contract, lowering his quill, and begins to write her name, but the ink just disappears. Her face tightens at the sight, holding back rage. Is he here? Tell me he's here. Where is he? Nordahl's not here. She chews on her tongue for a second, debating, then gives him the drawing, speaking quickly. Your ceiling has a leak which is weakening the protection spells you have in the walls. I would suggest rebuilding the damaged area with cedar instead of ash, and don't skip out on quality mortar. It's the reason for the damage in the first place. It's nice seeing you again. Good day. She makes her exit before Samwith can say anything. Cut 2, moments later. Samwith folds the parchment up in anger as he strides into the corridor. He rolls his eyes at the sight of Nordahl leaning smugly against the wall. Samwick! How are the walls holding up? Any leaks or unwanted rubbish scattering through the school? He stands next to the dripping water damage, but isn't talking about the puddle on the floor. My students? Oh, wonderful, thank you for your concern. Well, of course they are, that's why I've come. Their welfare is my priority. About that. I meant to send word, but I was too busy not putting a curse on the ink, letter, wax, and seal. After careful consideration, the students, parents, teachers, and myself have decided we no longer are in need of your protection. Amused, Nordahl narrows his eyes, and the threat in his sweet voice is clear. There's not been any incidences in this school, and if you wish to keep it that way, I think it's best if you give our courtship a fighting chance. I'd rather spend my students' gold on wasteful trinkets instead. We can fix the leaks ourselves. And speaking of unwanted rubbish scattering through the school, you can see yourself out. Cut 2. Exterior Glen's Academy of the Mystical Arts. Day. Nordahl sways in place, suddenly outside of the school. A thin layer of protection spells encase the school, warbling in front of him. The school disappears from view. Nordahl straightens his robes, retribution dancing across his face. We'll see about that. Cut to black.